most merciful Radha, please have mercy on me.
Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Jai Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Jai Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravadachari Jaya Punjabihari Jaya Jaya Yamuna Tiravadachari Jaya Punjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Punjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Punjabihari Jnanatimirandasya Janaganasalakayam Chakshusmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Shapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Upakaramaya Dadati Sa Parantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Vadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sa Shri Rupam Sagajatan Sagana Raganatan Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvarutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwavanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarivasya Kripa Sindhu Daivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You should have your feet in front of the deity like that. Thank you. So we're reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 9, text 19. We don't have to translate, huh? I'm used to stopping and somebody translates. Tapamiyaham aham varsam nigrahanyam utsajami cha amritam chaiva mrituscha sadasatcham chaham Arjuna. Somebody else want to try it? You don't have it? Okay, let's go to translation now. O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, of course, is a Chintabheda Veda Tattva, that inconceivably, the matter is also in Krishna. You give the example of the government. It has many departments, but still it's one. Or another example is the sun. The sun has emanations, the sunlight, which are different than the sun. It also has byproducts, like a lump of coal or oil that we take from the earth. This is nothing but the sun, through photosynthesis, creating these plants and trees and so on, that later on fall down and get compressed into the earth. But the energy of the sun is still in there. So when we take out the lump of coal or the oil, then we can again get the energy from the sun will come out by putting it in the fire. So a lump of coal doesn't look like the sun, but it's nothing but the energy of the sun. So similarly, this floor doesn't look like Krishna, but this is also Krishna's energy. Both spirit and matter are in me, Krishna says. And he is also in everyone's heart as the super soul. So there's some mystery there. And because it's a mystery, some people guess in the wrong way. Like the Christians, they think, oh, there's a devil. And he's diabolically, eternally against God. And so you have duality. And how do you harmonize it? It's difficult. You can't. You blame the devil instead of blaming yourself. In other words, we've come to the material world by our own desire. Not because Adam ate an apple. Why should I have to suffer because he did some mistake? No, I'm here because of my mischief. Because I want to put myself in the center. Every child is born in false ego. So the Christians would say every child is born with original sin. But original sin, where does it come from? Yeah, it comes from our individual misuse of independence. We have some minute independence, which gives us the option to either cooperate with God or to defy Him. So we've chosen, each one of us individually have chosen to put ourselves in the center. And we're born that way. The child at 14 months or something, the psychiatrist say, the child actually thinks he's the center of the universe. We're all born with this false ego. So how do we get rid of it? So the Buddhists and the other impersonalists, they say, no, we just have to kill the ego. Remove it, become zero. Or everything becomes one, and there's no more ego. They think the problem is ego. They're right, the problem is ego. But the solution is not to kill the ego or to eliminate the ego, it's to have the positive, real ego. When Sanat Goswami came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that was his question. Kayami, who am I and why am I suffering? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a very perfectly answered, you're the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis of Vrindavan. So you have an identity. There's your ego. And you're suffering because you've forgotten that. So this Krishna consciousness movement is simply awakening us to our original constitutional position. We don't have to change our position. We just have to find out who we actually are. Of course, that requires we have to be humble. We have to give up this false ego. Therefore, Guru is required. He tells us, we hear Prabhupada on the tape, right? Japa tape. Sit properly. He was like that. He wasn't bashful to correct us. And we needed, if we had a little faith in him, that he was our well-wisher, then that kind of correction was very valuable for us. We learned how to become humble. I can tell a quick story. I was sent by Srila Prabhupada to London to help the Grihastha couples who had opened a center there. I had been initiated in April, so in June, I saw Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan and I told him I wanted to open a center in California. But then a few days later he called me, he said, so I know you wanted to open a center, but we need help at the center in London, but please go there. So he sent me. And when he came, because I was the senior brahmachari, so I was given the service of giving Srila Prabhupada a massage every day. So the first day I gave a massage, I tried my best. But afterwards I said, Srila Prabhupada, I never gave massage before, so I want to go to the library and get a book on how to give massage. Reasonable. So I said, it's not necessary. You read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will tell you how to give massage. So that was Prabhupada's mood. We didn't have to stop what we're doing to collect knowledge. From whatever position we're in, if we give all our service, all our, you could say love, to Guru and Krishna, then everything will be resolved. So I was telling this story. I was giving massage, and then we had a big open program, first time in London. A lot of Hindus came. The Hindus were there even then, 1969. A lot of Hindus came, and some of them were challenging. Prabhupada was saying, you should surrender to Krishna, and somebody would say, what about Lord Shiva? Like that. Maybe you have some Hindus here that you have the problem with on occasion. Their philosophy that can be altered from the Sanatana Dharma. So anyway, he Prabhupada was very bold. So we had never seen him so bold, because in our personal dealings with him, he was always very humble. So I was inspired, like in a mode of passion. So when I was giving massage to Prabhupada, I was talking. My mood was kind of, me and you, Prabhupada, we could take over the world. That was my mood. I didn't say that, but I was thinking something along those lines. And I was massaging and talking and massaging and talking. Prabhupada suddenly said, no! It's like my hands froze on his body. And then with another voice, like a 7-year-old child, way in his heart, he spoke, very innocently. He said, I am just a humble servant. And I was so embarrassed. I was thinking, I shouldn't be in the same room with this person. He's such an aristocrat, and I'm just an ordinary slob off the street. What right do I have to be even in the same room with him? What to speak of touching his body? And there was a throw rug there. I thought I should go under the rug. So this is how Prabhupada taught. He was genuinely humble. He wasn't artificially saying, I'm a humble servant. He thought himself like that because he was always remembering his Guru Maharaj and Krishna. So in that relationship, he was a humble servant. He was just speaking the truth from his heart. No, I'm a humble servant. And he was teaching by example also. By showing that humility, genuine humility, it made me humble, at least for a few minutes. And like this, we need to become to the point of humility. Another time, I won't say his name, but one early devotee, he was a little puffed up. And it was in a house in Los Angeles, maybe 1968. And Prabhupada said, we were sitting in this room in Los Angeles, And in this house, there are many rooms, but we're in this room. And the house in Los Angeles, there's so many houses in Los Angeles. We're in this particular house. And Los Angeles is one city in the United States, a big country, so many cities are there, but we're in Los Angeles. And we're on the Earth planet, which is one small planet in the whole solar system, and then the solar system, and then the whole universe, like that, he would say. And there are many universes, but there's one person sitting in this one room, he thinks he's very important. So people ask us, right, how do we become humble? Become humble, get in harmony with the truth. The truth is, we're a very tiny, small particle of Krishna. It's a glorious position, because we're eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, but it's very small. So when the small wants to become great, it's ludicrous. We can't become God. This propaganda is false. I was going to a yoga class before I became a devotee. And the teacher was telling us when we were meditating, be still and know that you are God. And I was thinking, gee, I know that I was God. But maybe I should try it. It's like a cheating. That's what brought us here to the material world. We want to be in the center. The child wants to be in the center. If he doesn't get his way, he just screams. So we're all coming from that point. So why not be humble? Why are we proud? Oh, I can make money very quickly. Oh, I can charm the ladies. Oh, I can remember so many things. And what is that? Small little things we have. And they're only coming ability. What does Krishna say? I am the ability in man. Krishna's giving us that ability, but we're claiming it my own. It's mine. I earned it. I have God in my pocket. No, not like that. Humility is not so difficult if we just understand how stupid we were to turn away from God, to come to this material. Most of the living entities never turn away from God, but we've chosen to. Is that something to be proud of? No, we should all be humble. Then we can hear nicely from the right source. And this is the right source, Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's words. How much time do I have? 15 minutes, 17 minutes. Okay, purport. Krishna by his different energies diffuses heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During the summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky, and during the rainy season, he gives increasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of life is Krishna, and Krishna meets us at the end as death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit. In other words, he, Krishna, is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no distinction. He sees only Krishna in everything. Sometimes I would give the example that a mother, she has affection for her child. So as soon as she comes in the room, she sees that her child's clothes are thrown on the floor or something. She immediately thinks of her child, because the love is there. Similarly, as we become more advanced in Krishna consciousness, we actually start to love Krishna, then so many things will remind us of Krishna, and we'll become Krishna conscious. International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Your Prabhupada is trying to train us how to be Krishna conscious, 24/7. But the tendency is to be bodily conscious. Especially as they get older, right? If you listen to people talk in their 60s, 70s, they're always talking about, oh, I have this trouble with my knee, I have this, now my children are fighting. There's always some trouble that they're talking about. Because it becomes troublesome. Sweet 16 and bitter 16. It may be very pleasant, and youth. They're running very happily. But it's a wise person can see, what is this? On the other side of misery. The guy was telling me a story. Prabhupada was once on a morning walk on the bank of a lake, and the fisherman was there, and he caught a fish just before Prabhupada's coming. So he turned around and showed Prabhupada and the devotees were walking. He was smiling. See, I just got a fish. He was so happy. And Prabhupada said, yes, as they were walking. enjoy, and then suffer. This is inevitable. We're enjoying at the cost of our karma, and then we suffer. We get the same. Therefore, we shouldn't run after happiness or distress. They come automatically. Prahlad Maharaj makes this point. Why bother trying to get some sense gratification in this world? It will come automatically. You'll be walking one day and see the moon. Oh, how beautiful. You didn't plan it, but there's the pleasure. Automatically it comes, some pleasure, and automatically some suffering comes in everybody's life. Who doesn't suffer? Who is the person who can go through life without suffering? No. We're suffering from the moment we're born. The mother's suffering and we're suffering. The child is suffering. Then, old age, disease, death. It's like Govinda Das, the nice bhajan we just read. Like a drop of water on a lotus petal. We want to keep it. But what assurances are there is there of real happiness in all our wealth, our family members, our youth, it's like a drop of water. It rolls off. It runs through our fingers. We want to hold that youth or that happiness, but we can't. But if we become Krishna conscious, the Prabhupada was always telling us, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Once he was asked by the lady reporter, are you hippies? Prabhupada said, no, we're happies. But we can be happy, Krishna consciousness, real happiness, which can't be taken away. Even in old age, disease, and death. We were with Srila Prabhupada in the last days. He was always peaceful. He knew his position. Like we said, Prabhupada, we want you to stay, please. He said, whether I stay or leave, in any case, I'm serving Krishna. So, from my perspective, it doesn't matter. That was Prabhupada's mood. He was ready to stay, but Krishna had another plan. So he went. So we have to be open to the ongoing inspiration, revelation coming from the Lord. This is the qualification to be a devotee. To be alert for either sense gratification or Krishna consciousness. So, now we're learning. Best thing is to be Krishna conscious. And we see. One thing that keeps me on the path all these years is that the quality of our Guru Parampara. Just read a little bit about these people. The Goswamis, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vijayabhasan, coming down, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, such brilliant people. And they remain Krishna conscious whole life. Some doubts may come, but then you think, what's the alternative? Why not that there's a God? The atheists make their argument that everything happened by a big bang. But we give the example of like the floor. The floor is here, we can see some pattern, right? If you say, oh, it just happened by chance, that's not very substantial. Everybody knows with a little brain that this was planned like this, to have these squares and the black squares, not just by chance, but that's all they have. Big bang. And what caused the big bang? Oh, we're thinking about that. We'll let you know as soon as we... They're only speculating. Perhaps, maybe, could be. But we have authority. Here, Krishna speaking. We don't have to research. Here it is, coming to us, coming down. I remember when I was first coming to Krishna consciousness, I had a dream. And in a dream, Krishna consciousness was like a big, delicious sandwich. It's just in front of us. And all we had to do is bite into it. But people don't bite into it. No, I don't think it's going to taste good. So they don't take the Krishna consciousness. They see that we're joyful. We were on Harinam today. Many people could see that we're happy. And everybody's looking for happiness. That's a fact. So why not join the Hare Krishna? No, come on, I can't do that. What would my family think? It's right there in front of them, but they can't bite it. So by good fortune, we met Srila Prabhupada then. Drop my glasses. And we got the chance to hear directly from the mouth of the pure devotee. And so very quickly our doubts were removed. We had doubts in the beginning. Who's this blue boy? I never heard of any blue boy who's God and so on. But then gradually, everything seemed reasonable. Like the Bhagavad Gita is very reasonable. Why not accept it? So we have to be convinced, then we'll be able to give up our doubts, and then we become Nishtha. Nishtha, we know this word, right? We're talking in the car coming. Nishtha means steady. We can't be happy if we're living with the enemy in our own house, in our own room, in our own brain. The mind is the enemy until it's controlled. So this process is to control the mind. The yoga means to control the mind. And at the end of the yoga chapter, because in chapter 6 is the yoga chapter, in the beginning verse 6:6, Krishna says, the mind is the best friend or the worst enemy. So now it's our enemy. But by training it, it can become our friend. Otherwise, how can we be steady? We're living with the enemy, and at any moment it can rear its head up and say, no, I'm not going to go to Mangalarti, I'm the hell with this Krishna guy. No, we can become, it happens, right? We see. Or even we are big sannyasis, we can fall down. You've seen it. So we have to be very cautious and very grateful that this is a gift given to us. Therefore we say causeless mercy. We didn't earn it that in such a way that it's something we can have a coin in our pocket that we earned. No, it's not like that. It's only by mercy. Without Srila Prabhupada's mercy, none of us would be sitting in this room. That's a fact. What was his mercy? That he came against all odds, in elderly age, heart attack, seasickness, no cooperation from God brothers, nobody helping to start the movement in America for one whole year. He was loitering without any result practically. But he persevered. Therefore, we're here. So we all should feel very grateful to Srila Prabhupada, very humble, and endeavor to keep him in the center. This is the key. He told us in the last days, keep the Acharya in the center. Unfortunately, some of the gurus didn't do that. Like one of the gurus, I happened to be working with it at the time. I wasn't a guru. And so he gave class, and he was saying, I didn't ask to become guru. Prabhupada made me guru. Everybody knows guru is perfect, therefore I'm perfect. And next thing you know, he was shooting in his gun in the stores and having sex with his disciples. And I mean, I felt sorry for him. And he came to that point also. He almost committed suicide. But this is the fault of thinking we're the Acharya, we're at the same level as Prabhupada. No. What did Prabhupada do? What have we done? So we should always be humble. That's another way we want to be humble. Just remember Prabhupada. He was humble, like I explained. He really was humble. Because he was always remembering Krishna and his spiritual master. He never felt alone. Once I was alone in Hong Kong by circumstance, and Prabhupada's representative came, Brahmananda Swami at the time. And he sent a telegram to Srila Prabhupada in India. Srila Prabhupada Swami is alone, send help immediately. So after 10 days I got a letter from Srila Prabhupada from India saying, Brahmananda says you're alone. But what is this alone? Vaishnava never alone. Just like I came to your country, I was apparently feeling alone, but I was always feeling the presence of my spiritual master. So in this way he was encouraging me to. Of course I couldn't imitate Prabhupada, and help did come before long. Not so good to be alone. Like who is it that says, alone I can't push on this movement. But still, we have to learn that sometimes by circumstance we will be alone. Therefore, women are not given sannyas, because it's a little harder. They're more social, emotional. And so, for them to live alone, it's difficult. Therefore, they should be protected by their father and son and husband. And so, like Gandhar, some of the women are very advanced, Draupadi and Queen Kunti, they're pure devotees. Bhagavad Gita says, yes, anybody can become pure devotee. Even Hanuman, the animal sort of, Jatayu was a bird. They became pure devotee. Everybody can become a pure devotee. We're not saying you can't become a pure devotee. But Prabhupada didn't give women sannyas because it's against their nature. We have to complement each other. Men have a certain nature, women have a certain nature. The Vedic culture has been going on like that for 5,000 years. Even in India, you go to the village today, the culture is there. Women are protected. No divorce. Practically no divorce. And what, divorce, yeah, if we encourage divorce, and so much divorce, the result is, who suffers? Anybody? The children. The children are the most vulnerable, and they get disturbed. Mommy doesn't love me, otherwise, or daddy doesn't love me, why he left, and the children get sick. So we don't care, because it's self-centered. The Vedic culture is wanted. No divorce. Women are protected. But of course the women have to agree with that. Otherwise, I was speaking to one woman, one lady. She was kind of a friend of Krishna and was making this point. She said, yeah, I know, it's a protection racket. It's like the gangsters. They go to some shop and they say, hey, if you give me $50 a month, I'll make sure nobody breaks into your store or windows are broken. The guy said, I've been here 20 years, I haven't had anybody break in the store. He says, well, okay. The next day, the store is broken into. And then the guy comes back and says, so you want to give us that $50 a month? This is called a protection racket. They're exploiting, or what's the better word? Exploiting is okay. They're exploiting the simple people to get money. So that tendency we have to give up. The men have to be the most responsible. We're preaching to the men, especially. You want to get married? Then you have to be responsible for the next 30 years or so, while your children are till they're grown up. It's not a joke. You bring another child into the world, it's a big responsibility. But we should train the men to be ideal, first of all. The temple's a place for training purposes. Train the men to be disciplined, to accept authority, to be, you can say, cooperative with the temple authority. Then they learn. This is training is there. Brahmacharya training should be there for the men. Then they can be good grihastas. Not so easy to be good grihastas. And therefore in ISKCON there's so much divorce. But Prabhupada, he didn't make a big thing about it, but he wasn't pleased with it. And in the beginning he was arranging some marriages, but he stopped. Because they were getting divorced. So he didn't want to put his name to it. He said you can consult with others or consult with astrology, but Prabhupada didn't anymore arrange marriages. He was in the first days, arranging some marriages. Okay, we didn't finish this last paragraph in the purport. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestations is also Krishna. And his pastimes in Vrindavan, as two-handed Shyamsundar playing on the flute, are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada ki. Okay, we have 1 minute. Any questions? No, the philosophy is simple. The application is a little troublesome. Because our habit is to put ourselves in the center. We don't have to think about it. If a Prabhupada sometimes said it's like straightening the tail of a dog. You straighten it up and again, straighten it up. Again. So that we're struggling with. Each one of us individually, is struggling with our lower nature. And it's going to be a struggle until we come to the point of nishta. Then we're steady. No more struggle. We can be steady and go on with it. Then the door of bhakti will open. The next stage is ruchi. We get a taste. We're eager to come to Mangalarti. We're not doing it out of duty. We want to be there to see the deity and to dance first thing in the morning. We're chanting 16 rounds because we like it. Then we chant more than 16 rounds. So there's no more, drudgery. Oh, I have to chant these damn rounds. No. We feel happy to do it. So that stage is coming very quickly if we desire. We desire to make Krishna happy instead. Like Vinod Thakur says, so many lifetimes we've been trying to make ourselves happy. It hasn't worked. So why not just one lifetime dedicate to make Krishna happy? Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. The meeting is on time. There's two things in meeting was punctuality and cleanliness. Oh, here she is. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Nirvishesha Sunyavari Satyachari Satarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Satyachari Satarine Nivajaya Jaya Jaya Buddha Chandi Arati Kitova Jaya Jaya Buddha Chandi Arati Kitova Hey Janavi Jataman Ragamana Loga Ragamana Loga Dakshini Tai Tai Vanmigadada Dakshini Tai Tai Vanmigadada Hey Arati Kainagam Hari Devagani Hey Harati Karuna Hari Devagani Ivanarari Hari Kari Kamaradilaya Ivanarari Hari Kari Kamaradilaya Hey Sanjaya Kunjavati Vashari Gaya Hey Sanjaya Kunjavati Vashari Gaya Shankha Bhaje Gandha Bhaje Bhaje Karatala Shiva Shankha Bhaje Gandha Bhaje Bhaje Karatala Hey Madhuyami Bangavadi Pararamratala Hey Madhuyami Bangavadi Pararamratala Bahu Koti Tanjajini Kandana Vujala Bahu Koti Tanjajini Kandana Vujala Hey Gala Deshe Ganamala Kore Jalamala Hey Gala Deshe Ganamala Kore Jalamala Shiva Sukha Narara Eme Gara Gara Shiva Shiva Sukha Narara Eme Gara Gara Hey Vakati Moraram Samsara Oh Radha TV Godaram Sankara Gorange Arati Shobha Jagajana Mana Lobha Gorange Arati Shobha Jagajana Mana Lobha Shankavaji, Gantavaji, Madhu, 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 Vaji. Oh, Madhu, 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 Vaji. Madhu, 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 Vaji. Hariva. Hariva, 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 Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Sivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Sivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Sivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinath, Rama Mohan. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinath. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, hey, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, oh Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, oh Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Re, oh Gaura, Gaura. Gaurari, oh Gaura, Gaura, Gaurari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhaja, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhaja, hey Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhaja. Jagannatha Swami, Dana Anapatagami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavatume. Hey Jagannath Swami, Anapatagami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavatume. Oh Jagannath Swami, Anapatagami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavatume. Hey Jagannath Swami, Anapatagami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavatume. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Raya Raya Gopinath Radha, Gopinath Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhaja. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaur Premananda, Jaya Vishnupada, Paramahansa Sattva Satashi, His Divine Grace is Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON founder Acharya saved the whole world Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Vishnupada, Paramahansa Sattva Satashi, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki. Guru Parampara ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem Shri Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakti Vindiki. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamkanda Radha Kanigiri Govaran ki. Vrindavan ki. Mathuradam ki. Jagannath Puri ki. Tulsi Devi ki. Bhakti Devi ki. Bhakti Vindiki. Gaura Premananda. All glory to the Son. Glory to the Son. Glory to the Son. Glory to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga and Shri Prabhupada. Now you want to sing Namaste?
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Radha Radha Daine.
Radha Radha Daine.
Radha Radha Daine. Jai Narsimha Jaya Jai Narsimha De Prahladisha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Vringa Narsimha Jai Narsimha Jaya Jai Narsimha De Prahladisha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Vringa Shri Narsimha Jai Narsimha Jai Jai Narsimha De Prahladisha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Vringa Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki
Who is going to read Krishna book?
Rick Prabhu, escrevi para
Anybody, please.
So we will be very honored if you would speak more. It's like, it's not written in stone, it has to be written in Krishna book. So if you like to take some time and speak some more, we will be very happy.
Whatever. I'm a guest here. You do what you're inspired to do. Or what's your desire to do. But don't just stand there. Let's do something.
Okay, then
Something Krishna guys.
then I request you to speak more, please.
If you can request, and I can decline.
Good, that's the answer. Okay, thank you for the
Now, what are we going to do?
read Krishna book. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
This is it.
Put it down. Krishna, 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 Hey.
Krishna 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 Hey
Krishna, 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 Hey.
Krishna Krishna
Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna,
Krishna 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 Rakshama
Krishna, 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 Paimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama.
Hey!
Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama
Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Paimam.
Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. All right. So, like every evening, we're reading from the Krishna book. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's a summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust and the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Dance, page 269.
What chapter?
The chapter is description of the Rasa dance and it's page 296.
33 chapter.
33? Right? Okay. Most of the gopis in their previous lives were great sages, expert in the study of the Vedas, and when Lord Krishna appeared as Lord Ramachandra, they wanted to enjoy with him. Lord Ramachandra gave them the benediction that their desire would be fulfilled when he would appear as Krishna. Therefore the desires of the gopis to enjoy the appearance of Lord Krishna was long cherished. So they approached the goddess Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband. There are many other circumstances which also testify to the supreme authority of Krishna and show that he is not bound by the rules and regulations of the material world. In special cases he acts as he likes to favor his devotees. This is possible only for him, because he is the supreme controller. People in general should follow the instructions of Lord Krishna as given in the Bhagavad Gita and should not even imagine imitating Lord Krishna in the Rasa dance. Krishna's lifting of Govardhan Hill and his killing of great demons like Putana are all obvious extraordinary activities. And similarly, extraordinary. Similarly, the Rasa dance is also an uncommon activity and cannot be imitated by any ordinary man. An ordinary person engages in occupational duty, like Arjuna, should execute his duty for the satisfaction of Krishna. That is within his power. Arjuna was a fighter, and Krishna wanted him to fight for his satisfaction. Arjuna agreed, although at first he was not willing to fight. Duties are required for ordinary persons. They should not jump up and try to imitate Krishna and indulge in rasa lila and thus bring out their ruin. One should know with certainty that Krishna has no personal interest in whatever he did for the benediction of the gopis. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Namam karmani limpanti. Krishna never enjoys or suffers the results of his activities. Therefore, it is not possible for him to act irreligiously. He is transcendental to all religious duties and principles. He is untouched by the modes of material nature. He is the supreme controller of all living entities, whether in the human society, in the demigod society, in the heavenly planets, or in the lower forms of life. And he is also the supreme controller of material nature. Therefore, he has nothing to do with the religious or irreligious principles. So what we usually do then is that everybody reads one page and we go around.
Okay. Sukadeva Goswami further concludes that the great sages and devotees who are washed clean of all conditioned life can move freely even within the contamination of material nature by keeping Krishna in the Supreme Personality, Radha, within their hearts. In this way, they also do not become subjected to the laws of pleasure and pain in the modes of material nature. How then is it possible for Krishna, who appeared by his own internal potency, to be subjected to the laws of karma? In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly says that whenever he appears, he does so by his internal potency. He is not forced to accept the body by the laws of karma, like an ordinary living entity. Every other living entity is forced to accept a certain type of body by his previous action. But when Krishna appears, he always appears in a body that is not forced upon him by the action of his past deed. His body is a vehicle for his transcendental pleasure pastimes, which are enacted by his internal potency. He has no obligation to the laws of karma. The Mayavadi monist must accept a certain type of body, being forced by the laws of nature. Therefore, his claim to being one with Krishna or God is only theoretical. Such persons who claim to be equal with Krishna and indulge in Rasa Lila create a dangerous situation for the people in general. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was already present as the Supersoul within the bodies of the gopis and their husband. He is the guide of all living entities, as is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad. Nicha Nichanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supersoul directs the individual soul to act, and the Supersoul is the actor and witness of all action. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is present in everyone's heart, and that from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. He is the original person to be known by Vedic knowledge. He is the author of the Vedanta philosophy. He knows the Vedanta philosophy perfectly well. The so-called Vedantists and Mayavadis cannot understand Krishna as he is. They simply mislead their followers by imitating the actions of Krishna in an unauthorized way. Krishna, the Supersoul of everyone, is already within the body of everyone. Therefore, if he sees someone or embraces someone, there is no question of impropriety. Next.
Some ask that if Krishna is self-sufficient, why did he at all manifest the pastimes with the gopis, which are disturbing to the so-called moralists of the world? The answer is that such activities show mercy, special mercy to the fallen and conditioned souls. The gopis are expansions of his internal energy, but because Krishna wanted to exhibit the Ras Lila, they appeared as ordinary human beings. In attraction between man and woman, in the material world, pleasure is ultimately manifested in the sex attraction between man and woman. The man lives simply to be attracted by women, and the woman lives simply to be attracted by men. That is the basic principle of material life. As soon as these attractions are combined, people become more and more implicated in material existence. In order to show them special favor, Krishna exhibited this Ras Lila dance. It is just to captivate the conditioned souls. Since they are very much attracted by sex, they can enjoy the same sex, the same life with Krishna, and thus become liberated from the material condition. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit also explains that the pastimes and activities of Lord Krishna are medicine for the conditioned souls. If they simply hear about Krishna, they become relieved of the material disease. They are addicted to material enjoyment and are accustomed to reading sex literature, but by hearing these transcendental pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, they will be relieved of material contamination. How they should hear and from whom is also explained by Shukadeva Goswami. The difficulty is that the whole world is full of Mayavadis, and when they become professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam, and when people without knowing the effect of the Bhagavatam people without knowing the effect of the Mayavadi philosopher hear with such persons, they become confused. Discussion of the Ras Leela among people in general is discouraged because they are affected by the Mayavad philosophy. But if one who is advanced explains and people hear from him, certainly the hearers will be gradually elevated to the position of Krishna consciousness and liberated from materially contaminated life.
Another important point is that no one of the gopis who danced with Krishna were in their material bodies. They danced with Krishna in their spiritual bodies. All their husbands thought that their wives were sleeping by their sides. The so-called husbands of the gopis were already enamored with the influence of the external energy of Krishna. So by dint of this very energy, they could not understand that their wives had gone to dance with Krishna. What then is the basis of accusing Krishna of dancing with others' wives? The bodies of the gopis, which were their husbands, were lying in bed, but the spiritual parts and parcels of Krishna were dancing with him. Krishna is the Supreme Person, the whole Spirit, and he danced with the spiritual bodies of the gopis. There is therefore no reason to accuse Krishna in any way. After the rasa dance was over, the night of Brahma, a very, very long period, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, turned into the Brahma Muhurta. The Brahma Muhurta takes place about 1.5 hours before sunrise. It is recommended that one should rise from bed at that time and, after finishing daily ablutions, take to spiritual activities by performing Mangal Harati and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. This period is very convenient for the execution of spiritual activities. When that auspicious moment arrived, Krishna asked the gopis to leave. Although his beloveds were not willing to quit his company, they were very obedient to him. As soon as Krishna asked them to go home, they immediately left and returned home. Shukadev Goswami concludes this episode of the Rasa Leela by pointing out that if a person hears from the right source about the pastimes of Krishna, who is Vishnu himself, and the gopis, who are expansions of his energy, then he will be relieved of the most dangerous type of disease, namely lust. In other words, one who actually hears the Rasa Leela will become completely freed from the lusty desires of sex life and elevated to the highest level of spiritual understanding. Generally, because they hear the Rasa Leela from Mayavadis and they themselves are Mayavadis, people become more and more implicated in sex life. The conditioned soul should hear the Rasa Leela dance from an authorized spiritual master and be trained by him so that he can understand the whole situation. Thus, one can be elevated to the highest standard of spiritual life. Otherwise, one will be implicated. Material lust is a kind of heart disease, and to cure the material heart disease of the conditioned soul, it is recommended that one should hear, but not from the impersonalist rascals. If one hears from the right sources with the right understanding, then his situation will be different.
I have no glasses, so I hope I can make it. Shukadev Goswami has used the word. Thank you. Shukadev Goswami has used the word Shraddhanvita for one who is trained in spiritual life. Shraddha, or faith, is the beginning. One who has developed his faith in Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Spirit Soul, can both describe and hear the Rasa Leela. Sukadev also uses the word Anushrunu Vyad. One must hear from the disciplic succession. Anu means following, and Anu also means always. So one must always follow the disciplic succession and not hear from any stray professional reciter, whether a Mayavadi or an ordinary man. Anushrunuyat means that one must hear from an authorized person who is in the disciplic succession and is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. When a person hears the Rasa Lila in this way, the effect will be sure. He will be elevated to the highest position of spiritual life. Sukadeva Goswami uses two specific words, bhaktim and param. Bhaktim param means execution of devotional service above the neophyte stage. Those who are simply attracted to the temple worship but do not know the philosophy of bhakti are in the neophyte stage. That sort of bhakti is not the perfectional stage. The perfectional stage of bhakti, of devotional service, is completely free from material contamination. The most dangerous aspect of contamination is lust or sex life. Bhakti param, devotional service, is so potent that the more one advances in this lane, the more he loses his attraction for material life. One who is actually deriving benefit from hearing the Rasa Lila dance surely achieves the transcendental position. He surely loses all traces of lust in his heart.
Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura points out that according to the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma's day and Brahma's night are periods of solar years expanding to 4,300,000 multiplied by 1,000. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, the Rasa dance was performed during the long period of Brahma's night, but the gopis could not understand that. In order to fulfill their desire, Krishna extended the night to cover such a great period of time. One may ask how this was possible. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura reminds us that Krishna, although bound by a small rope, could show his mother the whole universe within his mouth. How was this possible? The answer is that he can do anything for the pleasure of his devotees. Similarly, because gopis wanted to enjoy Krishna, they were given the opportunity to associate with him for a long period. This was done according to his promise. When Krishna stole the garments of the gopis while they were taking a bath at Chira Ghata on the Yamuna, he promised to fulfill their desire in some future night. In one night, therefore, they enjoyed the company of Krishna as their beloved husband. But that night was not an ordinary night. It was a night of Brahma lasting millions and millions of years. Everything is possible for Krishna, for he is the supreme controller. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 33rd chapter of Krishna, titled Description of the Rasa Dance.
Hare Krishna, okay. Next. This is fun, huh? Yes.
So chapter 34, Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Shuddha killed. Once upon a time, the cowherd men of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, desired to go to Ambikavana to observe the Shivaratri ceremony. The Rasa Lila was performed during the autumn, and after that the next big ceremony is Holi, or the Dolayatra ceremony. Between the Dolayatra ceremony and the Rasa Lila ceremony, there is an important ceremony called Shivaratri, which is especially observed by the Shaivites, or devotees of Lord Shiva. Sometimes the Vaishnavas also observe this ceremony because they accept Lord Shiva as the foremost Vaishnava. But the function of Shivaratri is not observed very regularly by the Bhaktas, or devotees of Krishna. Under the circumstances, Srimad Bhagavatam states that Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men once upon a time desired. This means that they were not regularly observing the Shivaratri function, but that once upon a time they wanted to go to Ambikavana out of curiosity. Ambikavana is somewhere in Gujarat province, and it is said to be situated on the river Sarasvati. Yet we do not find any Sarasvati river in Gujarat province, although there is a river named Savarmati. In India, all the big places of pilgrimage are situated on nice rivers like the Ganges, Yamuna, Sarasvati, Narmada, Godavari and Kaveri. Ambikavana was situated on the bank of the Sarasvati. and Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowherd men went there. They very devotedly began to worship the deity of Lord Shiva and Ambika. It is the general practice that wherever there is a temple of Lord Shiva, there must be another temple of Ambika or Durga, because Ambika is the wife of Lord Shiva and is the most exalted of chaste women. She doesn't live outside the association of her husband. After reaching Ambikavana, the cowherd men of Vrindavan first bathed themselves in the river Sarasvati. If one goes to any place of pilgrimage, his first duty is to take a bath and sometimes to shave his head. That is the first business. After taking a bath, they worshipped the deities and then distributed charity in the holy places.
According to the Vedic system, charity is given to the Brahmin. It is stated in the Vedic Shastra that only the Brahmins and the sannyasis can accept charity. The cowherd men from Vrindavan gave the Brahmins cows decorated with golden ornaments and beautiful garlands. The Brahmins are given charity because they are not engaged in any business profession. They are supposed to be engaged in brahminical occupation as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Namely, they must be very learned and must perform austerity and penance. Not only must they themselves be learned, but they must also teach others. Brahmins are not meant to be Brahmins alone. They should create other Brahmins also. If a man is found who agrees to become a Brahmin's disciple, he is also given the chance to become a Brahmin. The Brahmin is always engaged in the worship of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, the Brahmins are eligible to accept all kinds of charity. All of the Brahmins receive excessive charity, but if the Brahmins receive excessive charity, they are to distribute it for the service of Vishnu. In Vedic scripture, therefore, one is recommended to give charity to the Brahmins, and by so doing, one pleases Lord Vishnu and all the demigods. The pilgrims take a bath, worship the deity, and give charity. They are also recommended to fast one day. That they should go to a place of pilgrimage and stay there for at least 3 days. The first day is spent in fasting, and at night they drink a little water, because water does not break the fast. The cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, spent the night on the bank of the Saraswati. They fasted all day and drank a little water at night. But while they were taking rest, a great serpent from the nearby forest appeared before them and hungrily began to swallow up Nanda Maharaj. Nanda cried out helplessly, "My dear son, Krishna, please come and save me from this danger. The serpent is swallowing me." When Nanda Maharaj cried for help, all the cowherd men got up and saw what was happening. They immediately took up burning logs and began to beat the snake to kill it. But in spite of being beaten and burned with burning logs, the serpent was not about to give up swallowing Nanda Maharaj. At that time, Krishna appeared on the scene and touched the serpent with his lotus hand. Immediately, upon being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, lotus feet is not a hand, the serpent shed its reptilian body and appeared as a very beautiful demigod named Vidyadhara. His bodily features were so beautiful that he appeared to be worshipable. There was a luster and effulgence emanating from his body, and he was garlanded with a gold necklace. He offered obeisances to Lord Krishna and stood before him with great humility. Krishna then asked the demigod, "You appear to be a very nice demigod and to be favored by the goddess of fortune. How is it that you perform such abominable activity that you got the body of a serpent?" The demigod then began to narrate the story of his previous life. "My dear Lord," he said, "in my previous life I was named Vidyadhara and was known all over the world for my beauty. Because I was a celebrated personality, I used to travel all over in my airplane. While traveling, I saw a great sage named Angira, who was very ugly. And because I was very proud of my beauty, I laughed at him. Due to this sinful act, I was condemned by the great sage to assume the form of a serpent." Go ahead.
one should note here that before being favored by Krishna, a person is always under the modes of material nature. However elevated he may be materially. Vidyadhara was a materially elevated demigod and he was very beautiful. He also held a great material position and was able to travel all over by airplane. Yet he was condemned to become a serpent in his next life. Any material elevated person can be condemned to an abominable species of life if he is not careful. It's a misconception that after reaching the human body, one is never degraded. Vidyadhara himself stated that even though he was a demigod, he was condemned to become a serpent. But because he was touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, he immediately came to Krishna consciousness. He admitted, however, that in his previous life he was actually sinful. A Krishna-conscious person knows that he is always the servant of Krishna. He is most insignificant, and whatever good he does is by the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master. The demigod Vidyadhara continued to speak to Sri Krishna. Because I was very proud of the exquisite beauty of my body, he said, I derided the ugly features of the great sage Angira. He cursed me for my sin, and I became a snake. Now I consider that this curse by the sage was not at all a curse. It was a great benediction for me. He had not cursed me. I would not have assumed the body of a serpent and would not have been kicked by your lotus feet and thus freed from all material contamination. In material existence, 4 things are very valuable. To be born in a decent family, to be very rich, to be very learned, and to be very beautiful. And these are considered to be material assets. Unfortunately, without Krishna consciousness, these material assets sometimes become sources of sin and degradation. Despite Vidyadhara's being a demigod and having a beautiful body, he was condemned to the body of a snake due to pride. Therefore, from this incident we can learn that those who are too proud of their material assets or who are inimical towards others are degraded to the bodies of snakes. The snake is considered to be the most cruel and envious living entity, but those who are human beings and are envious of others are considered to be even more vicious than snakes. The snakes can be charmed or controlled by mantras and herbs, but a person who is envious cannot be controlled by any means.
My dear Lord, Vidyadhara continued, now since I think I have become freed from all kinds of sinful activities, I am asking your permission to return to my abode, the heavenly planets. This request indicates that persons who are attached to further activities, desiring promotion to the comforts of higher planetary systems, cannot achieve their ultimate goal of life without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the less intelligent want to achieve material benefits and therefore worship different kinds of demigods, but that they actually get the benediction from the demigods through the permission of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Demigods have no power to bestow material profit. Even if one is attached to material benedictions, he should worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and ask him. Krishna is completely able to give even material benedictions. There is a difference, however, between asking material benedictions from the demigods and asking them from Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead for a material benediction. But when he actually achieved the favour of the Supreme Lord and saw him, he was so satisfied that he refused to accept any material benediction. The intelligent person does not worship the demigods or ask favours from them. He directly becomes Krishna conscious, as if he has any desire for material benefit. He asks Krishna, not the demigods.
I have a question, because he became perfectly pure. Why did he have to go back to the heavenly planet? Why didn't he ask Krishna, please? Now I realize even in the heavenly planet I can fall down, so I'd like to come back to the spiritual world. Please benedict me like that.
Dhruva Maharaj was in a spiritual planet.
question about Dhruva Maharaj?
No, the question is, why does Vidyadhara, why he, in the beginning of the paragraph, he said, I am asking your permission to return to my abode, the heavenly planet. Why didn't he do like Dhruva Maharaj and say, I came here looking for something, broken glass, but now I see you, I have the highest conviction. But this Vidyadhara, he wasn't so fortunate. He wanted to go back to the heavenly planet. So I guess you only can say he wasn't qualified to enter the Krishna's planet. Any other comments on it?
Prabhupada mentions here that this request indicates that persons who are attached to fruitive activities desiring promotion to the comforts of higher kind
So he
systems.
remained attached even while after seeing Krishna. Okay, next paragraph.
Vidyadhara, awaiting Krishna's permission to return to the heavenly planets, said, "Now, because I have been touched by your lotus feet, I am relieved of all kinds of material pangs. You are the most powerful of all mystics. You are the original supreme personality of Godhead. You are the master of all devotees. You are the proprietor of all planetary systems, and therefore I am asking your permission. You may accept me as fully surrendered unto you. I know very well that persons who are constantly engaged in chanting your holy name attain release from all sinful reactions, and certainly persons who are fortunate enough to be personally touched by your lotus feet are freed. Therefore, I am sure that I am now relieved of the curse of the Brahmana simply by seeing you and by being touched by your lotus feet." In this way, Vidyadhara got permission from Lord Krishna to return to his home in the higher planetary system. After receiving this permission, he circumambulated the Lord and offered his respectful obeisances unto him, and then he returned to his heavenly planet. Thus Nanda Maharaj was relieved of the imminent danger of being devoured by the snake.
The cowherd man who had come to execute the ritualistic function of worshipping Lord Shiva and Ambika finished their business and prepared to return to Vrindavan. While returning, they recalled the wonderful activities of Krishna. By relating the incidents of Vidyadhara deliverance, they became more attached to Krishna. They had come to worship Lord Shiva and Ambika, but the result was that they became more and more attached to Krishna. Similarly, the gopis worshipped the goddess Katyayani to become more and more attached to Krishna. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the person who are attached to worshipping demigods like Lord Brahma, Shiva, Indra and Chandra for some personal benefit are less intelligent and have forgotten the real purpose of life. But the cowherd men, inhabitants of Vrindavan, were no ordinary men. Whatever they did for Krishna. If one worships demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to become more attached to Krishna, this is approved. But if one goes to the demigods for some personal benefit, that is condemned. After this incident, on a very pleasant night, Krishna and his elder brother Balaram, Jai, who are inconceivably powerful, went into the forest of Vrindavan. They were accompanied by the damsels of Vrajabhumi, and they began to enjoy their company. The young damsels of Raja were very nicely dressed and anointed with pulp of sandalwood and decorated with flowers. The moon was shining in the sky, surrounded by the glittering stars. The breasts were The breeze was blowing, breathing an aroma of malika flowers, and the bumblebees were mad after that aroma. Taking advantage of the pleasing atmosphere, Krishna and Balaram began to sing very melodiously.
Wow.
The damsels became so absorbed in their rhythmical song that they almost forgotten themselves. Their hair blossomed, their clothes slackened, and the garlands began to fall to the ground.
Well, it would be nice to have a video or a tape of that Krishna Balaram singing. Go ahead, the next paragraph.
At the time, while Krishna, Balaram and while Krishna, Balarama and the damsels were so much absorbed, almost in madness, a demoniac associate of Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets, appeared on the scene. The demon's name was Shankachuda, because on his head there was a valuable jewel resembling a conch shell. Just as the two sons of Kuvera had been puffed up over their wealth and opulence and did not care for Narad Muni's presence, this Shankachuda was also puffed up over material opulence. He thought that Krishna and Balarama were two ordinary cowherd boys enjoying the company of many beautiful girls. Generally, in this material world, a person with riches thinks that all beautiful women should be enjoyed by him. Shankachuda also thought that since he belonged to the rich community of Kuvera, he, not Krishna and Balarama, should enjoy the company of so many beautiful girls. He therefore decided to take charge of them. He appeared before Krishna, Balarama and the damsels of Raja and began to lead the girls away to the north. He commanded them as if he were their proprietor and husband. Despite the presence of Krishna and Balarama, being forcibly taken away by Shankachuda, the damsels of Raja called out the names of Krishna and Balarama for protection. The two brothers immediately began to follow them, taking up big logs of shala wood in their hands. "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid," they called to the gopis. "We are coming at once to chastise this demon." Very quickly they reached Shankachuda. Thinking the brothers too powerful, Shankachuda left the company of the gopis and ran in fear for his life. But Krishna would not let him go. He entrusted the gopis to the care of Balarama and followed Shankachuda wherever he fled. Krishna wanted to take the valuable jewel resembling a conch shell from the head of the demon. After following him a very short distance, Krishna caught him, struck his head with his fist and killed him. He then took the valuable jewel and returned. In the presence of all the damsels of Raja, he presented the valuable jewel to his elder brother Balarama. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 34th chapter of Krishna, titled Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Shankachuda killed. Krishna Book Ki Jai.
So, normally speaking, this concludes the reading session. We're already over time, and then, like usual, we start with the bhajans. Thank you all for coming. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai.
Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Shishada Gopinata Ki. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Gopinath Radhe Radhe, Radha Gopinath Radhe Radhe, Radha Gopinath Radhe Radhe, Radha Gopinath Radhe Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanande.